Ryan had always loved exploring. As a young botanist, he spent most of his time wandering through forests, fields, and riversides, looking for plants that few people noticed. One morning, while walking along the edge of his town, he noticed something unusual. Hidden behind tall, twisting vines and large overgrown trees was a structure that looked abandoned. Its glass windows were broken in places, and the wooden frame was cracked with age, but something about it drew him closer. It was a greenhouse, or at least it had once been one. Curiosity pulled him forward. He pushed through the thick greenery and stepped inside. Sunlight filtered through the dusty glass panes, creating a warm glow that danced across broken tiles and overgrown plants. The air was thick with the smell of earth, damp wood, and leaves. Inside, a jungle of plants thrived as if untouched by the years. Ferns grew in tangled clusters, bright flowers peeked out from shaded corners, and vines climbed along the walls like living ribbons. Ryan's heart raced. It was a place forgotten by the world, yet alive in a way he had never seen. He bent down to examine a small, delicate plant with silver-lined leaves. His fingers brushed against the soft texture, careful not to damage it. The plant seemed almost magical, as if it had grown stronger because of the care it had received in secret. Ryan smiled and whispered to it, "You've done well on your own, haven't you?" A sudden sound made him freeze. A soft rustle came from the shadows at the far end of the greenhouse. Ryan turned slowly, his eyes scanning the dim corners. A figure stepped forward, a young woman with dark hair and bright green eyes, dressed in simple clothing that looked worn but practical. She moved with careful grace, as if she knew every inch of the greenhouse. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly, though there was no anger in her voice. Her eyes were cautious, curious, and maybe a little amused. Ryan straightened and held up his hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I've never seen a greenhouse like this before." The woman studied him for a moment. Then, slowly, her lips curved into a small smile. "I suppose I can't blame you for being curious. Not many people know this place exists anymore." "I'm Ryan," he said, offering his hand. "I love plants. I've been exploring for years, but I've never found anything like this." The woman hesitated, then shook his hand lightly. "I'm Myra," she replied. "And this greenhouse, it's my home, in a way." Ryan's eyes widened. "Your home?" Myra nodded. "I take care of these plants. I've been here for years, keeping them safe. Most people think this place is abandoned. It's better that way." Ryan looked around, amazed. "They're incredible. I've never seen some of these plants anywhere else. How did you manage to keep them alive for so long?" Myra's gaze softened. "Patience, care, and a little understanding of what each plant needs. Some things survive best when left alone, and some need a guiding hand." She paused, glancing at a cluster of glowing flowers near the window. "This greenhouse has been forgotten, but it still has life. And life, well, it always finds a way." Ryan nodded, feeling a strange connection to both the greenhouse and the woman who cared for it. "I've always believed that too," he said. "Nature is strong. It finds a way, even in the hardest places." For a moment, they stood in silence, surrounded by the quiet hum of life. Outside, the town went about its day, unaware of the hidden world thriving behind cracked glass and tangled vines. Inside, Ryan felt a warmth he couldn't explain, a feeling of excitement, wonder, and something more. Myra watched him carefully, her green eyes bright with quiet curiosity. Finally, she spoke. "If you want, you can come back. But only if you promise to treat this place with respect." Ryan smiled eagerly. "I promise. I've never seen anything like this. I want to learn. I want to help." Myra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Tomorrow, if the weather is good, we can start. There's a lot of work to do." Ryan's heart leapt. He had not expected to meet anyone, let alone someone so connected to the secret world. But as he left the greenhouse, stepping carefully through the vines that almost seemed to close behind him, he knew one thing for certain: his life had just taken a turn he never imagined. Something in the forgotten greenhouse had called to him, and it was not just the plants. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of that green world, a new story was beginning, one of discovery, care, and a bond that neither of them yet fully understood. The next morning, Ryan woke early, excitement running through him. He had spent the whole night thinking about the greenhouse and Myra. Something about the quiet beauty of that place stayed in his mind, and the thought of returning made his heart beat faster. He packed a small bag with gardening gloves, a notebook, and a few tools he thought might help. Today, he would meet Myra again, and this time, he would not just explore, he would work. When he arrived, the sun was just rising. The greenhouse looked different in the morning light. The glass reflected the soft glow of dawn, and the dew on the leaves made the plants sparkle. Myra was already there, tending to a patch of flowers near the broken glass wall. She moved carefully, her hands gentle, brushing away dust and leaves as she worked. "Good morning," Ryan called softly, not wanting to startle her. Myra looked up and smiled. "Good morning. I wasn't expecting you this early." "I couldn't wait," Ryan admitted, stepping inside. The warmth of the greenhouse wrapped around him like a gentle hug. "I wanted to start helping right away." Myra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. There is much to do." She handed him a small watering can. "Start with these. They need water every morning." Ryan bent down and began carefully watering the plants, noticing the variety of colors, shapes, and scents. Some flowers were bright and bold, while others were small and delicate. He could see Myra's care in every plant. It was clear she knew them all personally. As they worked together, the conversation started naturally. Ryan asked about the rare plants, where they came from, and how Myra learned to care for them. Myra spoke softly, explaining the history of each plant and how she had found them. Ryan listened eagerly, fascinated by her knowledge and passion. "You really know these plants like they are your friends," he said, smiling. Myra glanced at him, her green eyes bright. "In a way, they are. They depend on me, and I depend on them. Life is stronger when it is cared for." Ryan nodded, thinking about how he had always felt the same way about nature. It was not just a hobby, it was a part of him. The greenhouse was more than a place, it was a world alive with stories and secrets, and Myra was its quiet guardian. By midday, the greenhouse had begun to look less wild. Broken branches were cleared, old leaves swept away, and the sunlight now reached plants that had been hidden under vines for years. Ryan and Myra worked silently at times, communicating with gestures and shared understanding. Every now and then, their hands would brush as they reached for the same plant, and both would pause, smiling awkwardly before continuing. During a short break, Ryan sat on an old wooden bench, looking around the greenhouse. "I've never seen a place so alive and peaceful at the same time," he said softly. Myra leaned against the bench beside him. "It is peaceful because it is hidden. Most people rush through life without noticing the beauty around them. Here, life slows down. Everything grows at its own pace. Ryan looked at her, noticing the calm strength in her presence. He felt a strange warmth, something deeper than admiration for the plants. I think I understand why you've stayed here all these years, he said. Myra's gaze softened, and she looked down at her hands. This greenhouse is my world. But it is lonely sometimes. That is why it is unusual to have someone else here, someone who cares, who understands. Ryan felt his chest tighten slightly. He wanted to say more, to tell her how he felt, but the words caught in his throat. Instead, he smiled and reached for another plant. Then we will care together, he said simply. Myra looked at him and nodded. Together, she agreed. The afternoon passed quickly. Ryan and Myra worked side by side, planting new seedlings, trimming overgrown vines, and carefully documenting the rare plants in Ryan's notebook. They laughed when dirt fell unexpectedly on their hands, and sometimes they paused to admire a flower in bloom. The greenhouse felt alive, not just with plants but with a growing connection between the two of them. As the sun began to set, the light turned golden, and the greenhouse seemed to glow from within. Myra stood near a patch of small flowers, her face illuminated by the warm rays. Ryan watched her for a moment, feeling a deep sense of admiration and something more he could not yet name. Tomorrow, Myra said quietly, we will continue. There is still much to do. Ryan nodded eagerly. I'll be here. I want to help as much as I can. Myra smiled, a rare, soft smile that made Ryan's heart lift. Then we will work together, and the greenhouse will thrive again. As he walked home that evening, Ryan thought about the day, the plants, and Myra. Something had begun in the greenhouse, not just life returning to forgotten plants, but a new connection, fragile and beautiful, growing quietly among the leaves and sunlight. And he knew he would return tomorrow, ready to care, ready to learn, and ready to see where this path might lead. Over the next few days, Ryan returned to the greenhouse without fail. Each visit brought new discoveries, not just of plants, but of Myra herself. She was quiet, but when she spoke, her words carried the weight of years spent in solitude. Ryan noticed the way her hands moved carefully over each plant, how her eyes lingered on the smallest details, and the soft way she spoke to the flowers. It was as if she was part of the greenhouse itself, and he felt honored to share even a small part of her world. One afternoon, while they were working on clearing a corner overrun with weeds and vines, Ryan asked the question he had been curious about for days. Myra, why did you stay here all this time? Why not leave and share this place with the world? Myra paused, wiping her hands on her apron. She looked at him, her green eyes thoughtful. I've had my reasons, she said softly. A long time ago, I found these plants when they were struggling. I couldn't bear to see them disappear. This greenhouse became my responsibility, my sanctuary. The outside world is different. Busy. Distracted. Here, I can protect them. Ryan nodded, understanding more than she realized. I get that, he said. I've always felt the same way about nature. Some places, some things, are worth caring for quietly. Myra smiled faintly. Exactly. And I think, sometimes, quiet care is stronger than attention. Some things grow best when they are not watched too closely. They worked in silence for a while, pulling weeds and untangling vines. Occasionally, their hands brushed, and a small shiver of awareness ran through both of them. Ryan realized he was beginning to notice her in ways he hadn't expected, not just as a guardian of the greenhouse, but as someone he wanted to know more deeply. As they moved to a small patch of struggling plants, Myra stopped and knelt beside a tiny, fragile flower. "This one. I've tried to revive it for years," she said. Her voice was soft, almost tender. "It refuses to bloom. I don't know why." Ryan knelt beside her, looking closely at the plant. "Maybe it just needs the right care, or maybe it needs encouragement," he said gently. He reached out and adjusted the soil around its roots. "Sometimes, even the smallest gesture can make a difference." Myra watched him, her eyes wide with a mixture of surprise and something else, something that made Ryan's heart beat faster. Slowly, she reached out and touched the edge of a leaf. "You have a gentle way with plants," she said. "I haven't seen anyone care like this before." Ryan smiled, a little embarrassed. "I've learned a lot from nature. But I'm also learning from you. You've built something incredible here." For the first time, Myra allowed herself to speak freely about the greenhouse's history. She told Ryan about the rare plants she had discovered, the seeds she had carefully collected, and the long nights she had spent nurturing them. She spoke about the times she had felt lonely and about the pride she felt in seeing the greenhouse thrive despite being forgotten. Ryan listened intently, fascinated by every detail. "You've done something amazing here," he said. "This place, it's alive because of you. And it's inspiring. I want to help it grow even more." Myra's lips curved into a soft smile. "I was afraid someone else wouldn't understand. But you see it, don't you? You see what it is, not just what it looks like." Ryan nodded, feeling warmth spread through his chest. "I do. And I want to be part of it with you, if you'll let me." For a long moment, Myra didn't speak. Then she nodded slowly, a sense of trust and connection passing between them. "Very well," she said quietly. "If you stay, you must understand, this greenhouse is not just plants. It's a part of me. Treat it and me with care." Ryan's smile was bright and full of sincerity. "I promise. I'll care for both." The rest of the afternoon passed with shared work and quiet conversation. They planted new seedlings, trimmed overgrown branches, and carefully noted which plants needed extra attention. As the sun dipped low, casting warm shadows across the greenhouse, Ryan realized how much he had come to look forward to these moments filled with work, discovery, and the subtle, growing bond between him and Myra. When it was time to leave, Ryan hesitated at the doorway. Myra watched him, her green eyes calm but attentive. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "there is more to do. And more to discover." Ryan nodded, a sense of excitement and anticipation filling him. "I'll be here," he said, and for the first time, he realized he wasn't just returning for the plants. He was returning for Myra, too. And in the quiet greenhouse, surrounded by life and sunlight, something new was beginning, a connection deeper than curiosity, a bond that would grow alongside the plants they both cherished so dearly. The next week began like any other, with Ryan arriving early at the greenhouse, ready to work. The morning sun streamed through the broken glass panes, casting patterns on the wooden floor. Myra was already there, tending to a patch of flowers that had struggled the previous season. The greenhouse smelled of fresh soil and blooming plants, a comforting reminder of life thriving in hidden corners of the world. Ryan greeted her with a smile. "Good morning. What will we start with today?" Myra glanced up and returned his smile, though it was tinged with concern. "I have some work outside today." We need to check the vines near the entrance. They have grown quickly, and some could damage the glass if we don't manage them. As they worked together, carefully cutting back overgrown vines and clearing debris, the sound of voices reached them from the path outside. Ryan paused, frowning. Who could that be? Myra's green eyes darkened slightly. Stay here, she said quietly. I'll handle it. A moment later, a group of men arrived, carrying plans and papers. They introduced themselves as developers, and one of them spoke firmly. We've been assigned to this area. A new shopping complex is planned here. This greenhouse, it's in the way. Ryan's heart sank. He glanced at Myra, who stood tall but calm, her hand resting lightly on the edge of a plant table. This greenhouse, it's special, she said softly. It must not be destroyed. The developer waved the concern away. We understand it has value, but the town needs progress. This space has been marked for construction. We suggest you leave voluntarily before things get complicated. Ryan felt a surge of protectiveness. You can't just destroy it. These plants, this place, it's alive. It's important. Myra stepped closer to Ryan, her calm voice cutting through the tension. We will not give up this greenhouse. It is more than just walls and glass. It is life, and it deserves to be protected. The developers exchanged glances, clearly not used to resistance. We can talk to the council, but understand this: there will be pressure. This place may not survive unless an official decision is made soon. As they left, Myra turned to Ryan, her face showing worry but also determination. This is the challenge I feared. The greenhouse, it may be in danger. We must do everything we can to save it. Ryan nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. We can do it, he said firmly. We'll show them its value, and we'll fight for it. Together. Over the next few days, Ryan and Myra worked tirelessly. They cleaned the greenhouse thoroughly, documented every rare plant, and made detailed notes about their importance. Ryan sketched the layout, showing the beauty and diversity hidden within the glass walls. Myra shared stories of how she had nurtured each plant, revealing years of dedication and care. Despite the looming threat, there was a quiet sense of closeness between them. The shared challenge brought them together in a way nothing else could. When Ryan reached for a plant at the same time Myra did, their hands touched briefly, and both paused, sharing a small, understanding smile. It was subtle, but it spoke volumes of trust and companionship. Evenings were spent planning their approach to the council. They discussed ways to present the greenhouse as a historical and botanical treasure, highlighting its rare plants and unique environment. Myra, who had avoided the outside world for so long, found herself sharing stories openly, trusting Ryan to support her. One late afternoon, as the golden sun streamed through the dusty panes, Ryan looked around the greenhouse. The plants seemed brighter, alive with renewed energy, and he realized something important. Myra, he said softly, this place, it's more than just a sanctuary for plants. It's a place where we can grow, too. Myra turned to him, her green eyes meeting his. Yes, she whispered. It is a place of life, hope, and care. But we must protect it, no matter the challenge. Ryan reached out, brushing a stray leaf from her shoulder. We will. I'll stay with you. Every step of the way. Myra's lips curved into a faint smile, the first one that seemed truly relaxed in days. Then we will face this together. And the greenhouse, it will survive. As night fell, the two of them sat on an old wooden bench inside the greenhouse, tired but determined. The plants around them rustled gently in the evening breeze, and for a moment, the world outside seemed to fade away. They were not alone, they had each other, and the greenhouse had life again, life worth protecting. And in that quiet, golden light, Ryan and Myra realized that the challenge ahead, though frightening, had strengthened something far more important than the greenhouse alone. It had begun to strengthen the bond between them, a bond built on trust, shared passion, and the promise of standing together, no matter what the world outside demanded. The day of the town council meeting arrived, and Ryan felt a mix of nerves and determination. He had prepared everything carefully: sketches of the greenhouse, notes on the rare plants, and photographs of the thriving greenery. Myra walked beside him, quiet but steady, her presence giving him courage. The greenhouse had become more than just a collection of plants, it was a symbol of care, patience, and life, and they were going to fight for it. As they entered the council hall, Ryan noticed the skeptical faces of the officials. Some of them had already decided that the greenhouse was nothing more than an abandoned structure, unworthy of protection. He swallowed his anxiety and stepped forward. "This greenhouse," he began, "is not abandoned. It is alive. Every plant here has been carefully nurtured, and many of them are rare or endangered. If this greenhouse is destroyed, we lose a part of our natural heritage." Myra added softly, "I have cared for this place for many years. It has been my home and my sanctuary. I know every plant, every vine, every flower. It is more than walls and glass, it is life, and it deserves to be protected." Some council members nodded politely, but others looked unconvinced. One man spoke firmly, "We understand its value, but the town needs development. Progress cannot wait for a few plants." Ryan felt his stomach tighten. He had expected resistance, but he refused to give up. "Progress is important," he said, "but so is preserving life. This greenhouse is a place where people can learn, where children can see how plants grow, and where nature can survive in a busy world. It is not just about plants, it is about the future." Myra stepped closer to him, her voice calm and steady. "We are not asking for much. Just the chance to preserve this place, to show its beauty and importance. It can become a resource for the town, a place of learning and peace." There was a quiet murmur in the room. The council members whispered among themselves, considering their words. Ryan noticed a few eyes soften, and Myra's quiet strength seemed to make an impression. After hours of discussion, the council decided to visit the greenhouse before making their final decision. Ryan and Myra led them through the overgrown path, opening the greenhouse doors with care. The sunlight streamed through the glass, illuminating the colors and textures of every plant. Council members walked slowly, touching leaves, admiring flowers, and taking note of the careful attention given to each section. "This is remarkable," one of them said. "I didn't realize it was so alive. It feels peaceful, even." Ryan smiled, feeling a spark of hope. Myra's green eyes met his, and he saw relief and quiet pride reflected there. They had done it, they had shown the council the greenhouse's true value. As the meeting concluded, the council agreed to officially protect the greenhouse. It would become a public botanical space, allowing visitors to experience its beauty while preserving Myra's careful work. The relief washed over both Ryan and Myra like a gentle breeze. They had saved the greenhouse, but more importantly, they had strengthened their connection through this shared challenge. That evening, back inside the greenhouse, Ryan and Myra sat on the wooden bench surrounded by thriving plants. The sunlight had turned golden, and the air smelled sweet with blooming flowers. Ryan looked at Myra, feeling a warmth he could no longer ignore. "We did it," he said softly. "The greenhouse is safe." Myra nodded, smiling. "Yes. Because we worked together. Because we cared." For a long moment, they sat in silence, the quiet hum of life around them creating a sense of peace. Then Ryan spoke again, his voice quieter this time, almost hesitant. "Myra. I think I feel more than friendship here. I care about you. A lot." Myra's eyes widened slightly, and then softened. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "Ryan. I feel the same. I have felt it growing slowly, quietly, just like the plants. I didn't know how to say it, or if it was the right time." Ryan smiled, relief and joy spreading through him. "Then maybe now is the right time," he said gently. They sat together, hands brushing and hearts quietly aligned. The greenhouse around them seemed to glow in the warm light, as if celebrating not only life preserved but feelings acknowledged. For the first time, Ryan and Myra allowed themselves to enjoy the moment not as caretaker and visitor, but as two people discovering something deeper together. As night fell, the greenhouse was calm, with the plants resting under the moonlight. Ryan and Myra stood at the door, looking out at the quiet town beyond. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, they felt confident. They had faced the challenge together, and they had found something else along the way: a connection, trust, and a shared desire to nurture life in all its forms, both green and human. In the forgotten greenhouse, life thrived. And in their hearts, a new chapter of growth and discovery had begun, promising more than just survival. It promised joy, companionship, and the possibility of love nurtured with care. With the council's decision in their favor, the greenhouse felt lighter, more alive than ever. The sunlight poured through the glass panes, illuminating every leaf, flower, and vine, as if nature itself was celebrating the victory. Ryan and Myra walked among the plants, their hands brushing occasionally, sharing quiet smiles. The threat of demolition was gone, but a new feeling had begun to grow between them: a gentle closeness, warm and unspoken. Ryan knelt beside a cluster of small, blue flowers, carefully adjusting the soil. "They've grown so well," he said quietly. "Even the ones that struggled before are thriving now." Myra came beside him, her green eyes scanning the plants. "Yes," she said softly. "It's incredible what a little care and attention can do. And now, we can share it with others, too. People can see how beautiful life can be when it is nurtured." Ryan looked up at her, noticing the calm pride in her expression. "I think it's more than that," he said. "It's about connection between people, and between people and nature. This greenhouse isn't just plants. It's hope." Myra smiled, a rare, open smile that warmed Ryan's heart. "You understand better than anyone. That is why I trusted you." Together, they began preparing the greenhouse for visitors. Ryan carefully labeled each plant, explaining its history and unique characteristics. Myra shared stories of how she had nurtured them, describing the challenges and triumphs of keeping the greenhouse alive over the years. The two of them worked side by side, laughing when dirt fell on their hands and occasionally pausing to admire a particularly bright bloom. As the day progressed, Ryan suggested adding small benches along the pathways so visitors could sit and enjoy the beauty around them. Myra agreed, appreciating the thoughtfulness in his idea. "It will give people time to pause," she said, "to notice what often goes unseen." By late afternoon, the greenhouse felt transformed. Not only was it saved, but it now looked ready to welcome visitors, with clear paths, labeled plants, and a sense of life and order. The air smelled sweet with blooming flowers, and sunlight streamed through the glass, casting patterns that danced across the floor. Ryan paused near a vine-covered wall and turned to Myra. "I'm glad we did this together," he said softly. Myra's eyes met his. "So am I," she replied. For a moment, neither spoke, only looked at each other. The warmth between them was undeniable, subtle but growing stronger with every passing moment. As the evening approached, they decided to take a break. Ryan led Myra to a quiet corner where sunlight fell in golden beams. They sat side by side, enjoying the calm and the gentle rustling of leaves. The greenhouse felt like a world of its own, a place where time slowed and worries melted away. Ryan turned to Myra, hesitating for a moment before speaking. "Myra, I feel something more than friendship. I've felt it for a while, but today, seeing the greenhouse alive and thriving, I realize I want to be part of your life, not just here, but always." Myra's green eyes softened, and a gentle smile appeared. "Ryan, I've felt the same. I was afraid to speak, worried it might change everything. But now, I don't want to hide it anymore. I care about you, deeply." Ryan reached for her hand, brushing his fingers over hers. "Then let's not hide it," he said, a smile spreading across his face. Myra's hand rested in his, warm and reassuring. "Together," she whispered. For the first time, they allowed themselves to simply be together, sharing a quiet connection amidst the life they had nurtured. The greenhouse seemed to echo their joy, the plants and flowers glowing in the golden light, a reflection of their shared happiness. As twilight fell, Ryan and Myra stood near the entrance, looking out at the town beyond the greenhouse. The day had been long and exhausting, but also full of triumph. The greenhouse was safe, the plants were thriving, and they had discovered something even more precious: their connection to each other. Ryan squeezed Myra's hand gently. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. Myra nodded, her eyes shining with hope. "Yes. Together, we can help this place grow, and we can grow too, side by side." As the first stars appeared in the sky, the greenhouse glowed softly in the fading light. Inside, life continued: plants, sunlight, and two hearts that had discovered a bond as natural, strong, and enduring as the greenery around them. The forgotten greenhouse was no longer forgotten. It had become a place of life, love, and possibility, and Ryan and Myra knew that together, they could face anything the future might bring. The greenhouse had become a place of celebration. After the council's decision, visitors began to arrive, curious to see the hidden world Ryan and Myra had protected. Children ran along the pathways, marveling at colorful flowers, while adults paused to admire the delicate, rare plants. Ryan and Myra moved among the visitors, sharing stories, pointing out unique species, and quietly smiling at each other when a child or adult reacted with awe. The greenhouse buzzed with life: not just plants, but with joy and curiosity. For Ryan and Myra, it was a special moment. They had worked side by side to protect this place, and now others could appreciate it too. But beneath the surface of laughter and excitement, a deeper feeling thrived: a quiet, steady connection that had grown over weeks of shared work and discovery. Ryan paused near a patch of blue flowers, the same ones that had struggled when he first arrived. Myra stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the soft afternoon light. "They're thriving now," he said softly, almost to himself. "Yes," Myra replied, her voice gentle. "They needed care, patience, and someone who believed in them. Just like we did." Ryan turned to look at her, feeling a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the sunlight. "We did it together," he said. "Everything, the greenhouse, the plants, us. It all grew because we worked together." Myra smiled, her green eyes bright. "And because we trusted each other." For a moment, they stood in silence, watching visitors marvel at the greenery around them. The greenhouse seemed to glow with life, each leaf and flower a symbol of dedication, hope, and the bond between two people who had discovered something extraordinary. As the day drew to a close, Ryan led Myra to a quiet corner of the greenhouse, where sunlight fell in golden beams through the glass. The hustle of visitors faded, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. It was their sanctuary again, the place where everything had begun. "Myra," Ryan said, his voice steady but soft, "this greenhouse brought us together. And now, I want to be part of your life, outside these walls as well. Will you let me?" Myra's green eyes softened, and she reached out to take his hand. "Ryan. I was afraid," she admitted. "Afraid of change, afraid of losing this place, afraid of feelings I didn't know how to express. But now I know. I want to be with you, and I want us to grow together." Ryan smiled, a sense of relief and joy filling him. "Then let's grow together," he said. He gently brushed a strand of hair from her face, their hands still entwined. Myra laughed softly, a sound as light as the wind through the vines. "Together," she agreed. They walked slowly through the greenhouse, hand in hand, pausing to admire each plant as if it had witnessed the story of their bond. The rare flowers, the vibrant vines, and the delicate ferns seemed to reflect their own growth, slow, patient, and beautiful. As twilight approached, the greenhouse glowed with the golden light of the setting sun. Ryan and Myra sat on their favorite wooden bench, the one near the entrance, watching the last visitors leave. The air smelled sweet, filled with blooming flowers and the faint scent of earth. "This place," Ryan said softly, "it's more than I ever imagined." "And so are you." Myra's eyes shimmered. "And you are more than I imagined, Ryan. You came here with curiosity and care, and you stayed with patience and heart. This place, and us, we are proof that life can flourish in unexpected ways." Ryan leaned closer, feeling the warmth of her hand in his. "Then let's make sure it flourishes," he whispered. Myra nodded, leaning gently against him. "Yes. Together, we will care for it, and for each other." The greenhouse settled into quiet as night fell. Outside, the stars twinkled in the sky, but inside, life continued in a soft, calm rhythm. The plants, the sunlight fading into moonlight, and two hearts beating quietly in harmony. Ryan and Myra sat together in the golden and silver light, surrounded by the fruits of their work, the life they had nurtured, and the bond that had grown in parallel with the greenhouse. They did not need words to express their feelings, their shared glances, soft touches, and gentle smiles said everything. In the forgotten greenhouse, life had been saved, and love had quietly taken root. Ryan and Myra had discovered that care, patience, and trust could nurture more than plants, they could nurture hearts as well. And so, in the warm, green sanctuary they had fought to protect, the two of them began a new chapter. The greenhouse would continue to thrive, and so would they, side by side, hearts intertwined, ready to face the future together, with hope, love, and life growing all around them.